Alright, this week's a simple update, just the one thing. And you can see this one is a Sweet Reincarnation, which, this one calls it the complete season. In other words, if they come up with season 2, there'll be a season 2. See region A and B. English and Japanese dubs. Different underneath the slipcover. I'm trying to think which one would be better as a main. I actually really like both of them. I guess we'll open this up. Take a look on the inside. Careful not to let the disc slip. I wonder. Take them both out so we can look at the complete back image. You know, usually I do the side peek thing, but yeah. I don't know. So, very small update this week. But here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, well this part isn't going to be as quicker compared to the update thing, but let's see. Magical Girl and Evil Lieutenant, episode 5. Again, amusing little episode. I don't remember anything at the end saying what would happen next, but you know, just amusing little episode. No longer allowed in another world. Episode 5. What happened? I think we got... Huh. Okay, I remember what happened at the very end. Oh yeah, I guess it was it wasn't with our main group of characters. I guess it was giving us kind of a sit rep on the world by kind of giving us an insight mostly into the people responsible for guiding new heroes. Maybe we had a little bit of the hint in terms of what happened at the Demon King's palace, and our main characters reached their destination with a little bit of a stinger. So, okay episode, I guess. Strongest Magician and the Demon Lord's Army, episode 7. I guess war was beginning. It's okay, but it's not wowing me, I guess. Failure Frame, episode 6. Actually, I thought this episode was kind of cool. And I think part of the reason for that is I think they did some proper setup for what was going to happen in it. And maybe it's not the... I mean... sorry. Lost my train of thought. Because, yeah. There were things happening. It's like, wait, what's going on? Oh, wait. Is that... It is. It's been setting this up. And it's... an interesting setup. Now, whether or not it's going to be an interesting show beyond this is hard to say, but I thought that this episode was a nice episode. Maybe the lady that's with him, it's hard to say if her behavior was necessarily convincing, but, you know, beyond that, just kind of the way it went and the things it did, that was actually quite interesting, quite surprising. I Parry Everything, episode 6. I think, so where the previous episode ended was kind of at an okay enough spot, but this one was entertaining enough. It kind of introduced a little more in the backstory of the main character than I would have thought. So it kind of feels like it didn't progress forward plot-wise, but I guess it did enough setup that it's okay. So an entertaining enough episode. The next episode of Otokonoko did not air as far as I can tell, so I didn't watch that. Time I got reincarnated as a slime, season 3, episode 65.5. This was a recap episode, basically. Oh, it's okay, but not the most exciting thing. Quality Assurance in Another World. So that one was kind of interesting because, like I said, last week, episode 5 apparently didn't air. Maybe it did, but the dub just didn't come out until, like, the day before episode 6. So we got 5, 6, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, little bits of things that are just interesting, but I guess it's hard to say from a storytelling perspective if I know if I'm excited about what's going to happen. It just is kind of neat and going along, I guess. Dungeon People, episode 5. That was entertaining, interesting. Yeah, it's strange. I'm not even quite sure what about this show is entertaining to watch, but something about its episodes are kind of nice. Yeah, again, I'm not quite sure what. Bye Bye Earth, episode 5. This is a really strange show. It does stuff, and the stuff kind of makes sense in the middle of it doing stuff at the same time. I'm not sure what to think about it. I'm not sure what to think about the ultimate goals. It's just kind of doing stuff and being neat as it goes, I guess. Dolly and Bloom, episode 6. I think this episode felt like it was finally a little more okay. Like, big problem with a lot of the previous episodes is I want to see our main character doing interesting stuff. And it's going a little light on that. And that wouldn't be a problem if it was just about the relationship, but it doesn't seem to be about that. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit... Oh, and her dad was great, and... Yeah, again, I want to watch the show more about her. And felt like this episode was a step up from the past couple, but maybe not a great one, just a okay one, maybe... I don't know. Stuff. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. I did not watch episode 6. I've got it open up but in a tab, but I'm not sure. As much as I really like some of the ideas and character designs and art and stuff, like I said, I've not liked the characters themselves. I'm not sure what to think about the show as it's progressing. It's maybe okay. Last episode was interesting, but maybe it felt like a bit of a distraction interesting, which is unfortunate because it's not entirely a distraction, but strange, but I don't know. So yeah, I guess I just didn't end up watching the next episode. Shoshimin, episode 5. I just really liked the dialogue between the characters in this one. I'm not really quite sure if I would be completely tied to this if just the dialogue and mannerisms weren't intriguing. Because I'm not really quite sure what I'm aiming for, but I guess I kind of enjoyed putting it on, so it's good. Elusive Samurai, episode 6. The previous one I mentioned that the previous couple of episodes it felt like they left with it deliberately having a stinger and like it wasn't reaching pausing points. Well, this one felt like it reached a pausing point at the end, and it had very entertaining stuff. I'd say it's maybe a little bit light on the stuff that's made the show entertaining so far, but maybe just a little bit, because I think it still had some of that interesting art, some of that interesting evasiveness, elusiveness. They introduced a new character, and I think there's a lot of aspects of the new character that are nice. I just kind of worry at the end of the episode it just got a little over enthusiastic about, yeah, now he's a character now. But I think it's fine. It really depends on what it does after that moment. So like if he becomes a show stealer, then that's the mistake of the people of the show, which I don't think he's supposed to be. So, entertaining enough. Plus-sized elf, episode 6. Let's see, that and that. Okay, yeah. Amusing enough. Did not expect to see a fat skeleton. That wasn't fat because the bones were fat or something like that. No Eric Cartman, I'm not fat, I'm just big boned or anything like that. But just entertaining. Pretty much par for the course for that show. Why Does Nobody Remember Me in This World? Episode 5. I'm a bit confused how that funking pompous jackass could even still be around. I mean, I got the impression that people are kind of in, if not dire straits, then, kind of teetering on the edge of that, which usually doesn't give much room for a noble-esque, holier-than-thou, do-nothing dumb fuck. But I guess they're setting up some obvious thing there. And a couple of intriguing things, but mostly, I don't know what to think of the episode. It just was okay. McCain, Too Many Losing Heroines, episode 5. Again, this one I think is very watchable just because the character interactions are just entertaining. There's something entrancing about them. And it keeps doing interesting things that make me think... You know, I guess you can't just assume this show is setting up an amusing premise and then leaning on it. It's continuing to do a good thing. And again, character interactions continue to be very interesting. At Tree, episode 5. Entertaining enough. Yeah. I guess the real problem of the show being mostly that I don't know where it's trying to go, but characters are kind of nice. Maybe not as entertaining as McCain or Shashimin, but you know, I think it's still kind of comparable along those lines. It is really interesting that at the time that I was watching that, I think I also watched a clip of Neurosama where she and Vidal were doing some sort of pseudo role-playing session, and Vidal jokingly suggested to Creature that he bought a thing from that while he didn't have the money, he did have an AI he could sell, and Neuro reacted to that in a way that's just like, yeah, this is beyond what young me ever dreamed of from an AI. We watched stuff, we read stuff, and you know, some of it's just like sort of fake stuff where I guess you could kind of understand, but that one just sort of was very interesting. I don't know. It felt like there was an interesting relatability between that and this episode of something. I don't know. Journey Through Another World, Raising Kids While Adventuring, episode 7. You know, kind of a... the show continues to move forward doing what it does. I think it hasn't really changed. Like, if you saw the show and you're like, oh, this is going to have some awesome conflict in it, then you were probably not looking at this show when you said that. And it continues to be that way, and it's okay. Entertaining. You know, if you've enjoyed it up to this point, you probably will continue enjoying it. But, you know, there's neat things. But I guess I'm not quite sure what final goal is. And, you know, for me, it doesn't really feel entirely convincing that they're kids. They feel like kids if they were made by people who don't really understand kids or don't try to write kids. Similar to shows where, oh, well, this is an animal. That's not really how an animal would act. It's really not about being accurate. It's supposed to be about something else. Blah, blah, blah. Wisteria, Wand and Sorcery, episode 5. So if the previous episode wasn't very actiony, this one was pretty actiony and entertaining to watch and very intriguing to see what the next episode does. It's been nice. I really wish I had watched Black Clover so I could really compare, but this doesn't feel like shonen. It feels like something else. I think even Mashali felt like shonen. This one, I don't know. It's something about the world feels, I don't know, interesting. I'm losing my train of thought. But I definitely enjoyed episode 5. Osan Newbie Adventurer, episode 6. I was actually really worried at the first half of this episode that it was going to be yet another episode about somebody other than our main character. And then it kind of started doing that, but it didn't do much with the main character, so it's kind of set up. The show feels a little slower than I think it should. Maybe only a little bit. And a little too distracted from our main character a little bit. It's not bad, it's enjoyable, but I don't know. I guess it only felt like 80% of an episode, even though it was just as long as any other episode. And then finally, Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episode 19. with everything resolving, it's like, yeah, kind of things resolved maybe the way I was thinking, unless I was subtly remembering and not knowing. But I don't know. Kind of got really exhausted by some of it. And if I were to try to pinpoint why, it's because I think there's an element of this where Holo is kind of telling him to think about her, but is she really thinking about him? I mean, this is a pretty common thing with romance sort of stuff, but, you know, the fact that she, did that to him, it's just exhausting. For me, it just exhausts me thinking about it, and hopefully I'll continue watching it, because their dialogue was kind of nice, but when it's kind of nice after being exhausted, it does instill feelings of wanting to give up. Even though I still think it's good and I want to see where it ends, so that I have a better memory of where it ends in case it never resumes, and then can look at the old season 2 to see how that ended compared to where this one ended. I was wondering if I was vaguely remembering somewhere where it goes after this point in season 2, but then I realized I'm just remembering an anime called Claymore, so I don't think I'm remembering Spice and Wolf season 2. Oh well. Still nice, still very nice, but I think I'm just tired these days. Let's see, outside of that, do I have anything to really talk about? I don't think I have anything interesting video game wise. I mean, me and my friend group, we played some Lethal Company again for the first time in a while, Tuesday. We're playing with a mod so that the kidnapper fox never shows up. I'm not sure if we've tested enough to know for sure whether or not it's working, because the problem is it's just so much RNG, and then kidnapper fox comes up and single-handedly ruins the run, which is unfortunate, because there's a lot of things in there where it's just like, okay, my brother realized he was between a giant and an eyeless dog, and it's just like, I'm going the way I choose to die, and I forgot how he chose to kill himself, but, you know, good 100% fatality situations in Lethal Company come from a combination of things or players being sloppy, and that's, I think, the main frustrating thing about Kidnapper Fox. It doesn't come from a place of accidents, it just feels maliciously designed. And I'm sure some of that is some funny ideas that Zeker's had, and I'm glad that he's going to disable it until he figures out how to fix it. But I don't know. I am just tired in general. I guess I did fire up Pokemon in order to shiny hunt some of the releases, and maybe to make a couple of attempts at shiny hunting for Gimmighoul, but that's kind of exhausting too. Dead by Daylight, I didn't do too much. I guess I'm mostly trying to prepare for the Dracula chapter coming out in a couple weeks. Probably in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. No. 2 weeks and a day, maybe. So, Tuesday, August 27th. And that basically means that I'll make sure that my blood points are maxed at around 2 million, if not real close. I have my dailies saved up. I took advantage of the double daily thing to get 240,000 saved up, ready to redeem. I've got a lot of stuff in the tome ready to redeem. I've stopped redeeming Rift tracks so that I should be able to go there day of and get some points from that as well. Iridescent shards saved up. It's not going to be enough to get everybody to P3 because there's both Trevor and Dracula. And Dracula seems neat. A little complex. I'm not sure if he's really powerful or not. I think he may be a little under-tweaked. But he still looks fun in his own way, even with that one bug. So, yeah, fun enough stuff. Anything else to really talk about? Nothing I can think of. I didn't actually play that much Dead by Daylight, so if it sounds like I played a lot, I don't know that I really had the energy to play a lot, so I didn't really. But that's just normal. I've got another project I'm working on, but These days I'm just so tired. Oh well. Y'all, have a nice week.